Growing up, my aunt and uncle owned a beach condo. My favorite way to spend the summer was to stay there with my family, especially my cousin Charlie. We were absolutely inseparable growing up. There was a 1 year difference between us, though. The beach we stayed at was a very popular tourist beach on the South Carolina coast, so in the summer it was incredibly busy. I mean, barely any room between you and the family next to you. Now, my family would spend all day on the beach, from about 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. The beach would stay crowded until about 5 p.m., and everyone would go back to their rooms to shower and go out to eat. So from 5 to 7 every day was my favorite time to be outside. We would actually have room to run wild, build sandcastles, dig huge holes, and not have to worry about people knocking them down or being too close. Around 5:30 p.m., one day my family decided they wanted to walk to the pier, about 2 miles away, and me and Charlie begged to stay so we could build sandcastles. We were 9 and 10 at the time, and they said we could stay as long as we didn't get in the water or leave our beach spot. The condo we stayed at was one row back, and we were not allowed to cross the street without adults. We agreed to our terms and continued to build a row of sandcastles as they walked away. Around 5 minutes later, an extremely tall man wearing a floppy beach hat, sunglasses, with a dollop of sunscreen on his nose, came straight up to us. He started commenting on how pretty our sandcastles were, asking us how long it took us to build them that high, if it was just us two working on them, which I clearly see what he was getting at with these questions now. We were both extremely introverted kids. We thanked him, kept our answers short, and tried to ignore him, as he still stood there asking us questions. All of a sudden, he got really quiet, started looking around and at the beach, mostly empty beach, and said he had to go meet his friend. He told us to stay right there so he could bring his friend back to look at how great our sandcastles were, and walked away from us. When he got away at a safe distance, me and Charlie both looked at each other and said, "We've got to get out of here." Side note, hell yeah at us for being smart kids. We immediately started weighing our options. We knew our families wouldn't be back for at least another 30 minutes. We also knew we weren't allowed to cross the street, and quite frankly, we were scared to. About 100 yards away is a tiny ramp overlooking the ocean. I believe it was a handicapped access to the beach, as well as just a place to sit. We got our big shovels and decided to hollow out under the ramp and pier, thin enough to where we could crawl under and not be seen. It didn't take us long, since the high tide over the years had taken out a good 3 feet of sand underneath, and our adrenaline was rushing mad fast. We took our shovels inside and crawled under. The man was still yet to be seen. I assume it took us all of 8 minutes to climb under the pier. Our heads were partially visible above the sand horizon, and we started freaking out, thinking he would be able to spot us if he looked hard enough. There were 2 boogie boards lying about 50 yards away that looked like kids had abandoned on the beach. We grabbed them and propped them up against the ramp, covering our crawl space and the top of our heads from sight. Charlie curled up in a ball and cried while running scenarios by me that were definitely going to get taken. I tried to calm him down and say everything was going to be okay. Our parents would be back soon. But I definitely felt like crying myself. The whole thing felt so weird. I feel that situation, we both had such a bad feeling about the situation, especially at a young age. This was a man with sinister intentions. Charlie and I peeked out of the small slits where the boogie boards curved and eventually saw the man walking back. He didn't have anyone with him, which we definitely thought he would, since he was bringing back a friend. He saw we were gone, turned around several times, checking to see if we were in the ocean or up by the dunes. Once he realized and thankfully didn't notice us there, we were gone, he got extremely angry, noticeably angry. He started huffing and puffing, stomping around. Then he looked at our sandcastles and kicked all of them down. We built a ton over the course of the day and basically had a long wall of them, as he kicked every single mound down and stormed away. We stayed under the rampant pier thing for 45 more minutes until our family finally got back. We were way too scared to get out, especially after seeing his irrational reaction. We cried and told our family what happened, and they didn't believe us. We still talk about it sometimes at family gatherings or holidays. Both of us still remember it like it was yesterday. Seriously, I'm so glad we were kids. We were kids then. And so smart about it, too. So creepy-ass beach man who kicked down our sandcastles, let's not meet. It all happened about 10 to 12 years ago. I don't remember how old I was, but probably somewhere between 5 or 6 years old. We used to live in a city right next to the ocean. All this happened in Germany. So obviously during the summer, my family would go to the beach and enjoy ourselves. Me and my best friend, Jonas, were just exploring the area around the beach and were just being little kids. There was this huge bush that you could go into. It might sound weird, but try to imagine a bush about 20 to 30 feet high, thick sides and hollow on the inside, so kids would always go in there and play. And me and my friends went in there and were just joking around, fighting with branches and stuff like that. That's when I noticed a shadow outside the bush heading towards the entrance of the bush. Me and my friend don't think anything about it and just keep playing. The shadow kept walking and eventually reached the opening. It was an old man, maybe 6 years old. He started smiling and tries to talk to us. We're basically trapped in the bush and start to freak out since we weren't supposed to talk to strangers, and here is this old guy trying to talk to us. He asked us stuff like where we are from and where our parents were. That's when my friend lost it and bucked it through the bush side. The guy's smile changes to an angry face and charges me. I follow my friend's example and we run to our parents. We told them what happened and they stopped allowing us to go back there. We keep going to that beach for a couple weeks and I could always see the guy in the distance looking at me and my buddy. So fast forward a couple weeks, there was a huge lifeguard building with toilets. My friend goes to pee and I go with him because I want to buy some ice cream. My friend goes to the restroom, which are about 20 feet down the hall from the snack bar. I buy my ice cream and wait for him. That's when I heard the scream. I run to the bathroom and rip open the door. There's just one stall, the door open. The same old guy that has been stalking us is standing in the stall's door. I could see my friend in the stall standing in the corner, screaming and crying. The door behind me has shut. The guy sees me and starts yelling and looks like he is about to murder someone. I hurry to open the door and storm out to get help. I scream as loud as I can, and a couple of lifeguards run over. I pointed at the door and they went in. They got the guy and the police was called. Me and my friend had to make statements, and my friend was in therapy for a couple of months but is now fine. Turns out the guy was known to be a child molester, but the police had no evidence to lock him up till then.